If you or a family member have been hurt because of the careless actions of another person, call Walker, Texas Lawyer. They'll work to get you the financial compensation and justice you deserve. They have 40 years of experience, and you don't pay unless you win. Call 713-881-9653 today for a consultation or go to walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brian, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking to talk, you me funny lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
I am so excited to talk to my guest right now. He is the subject of the new documentary Joke Man, radio icon, comedy icon, and he joins us right now on the show, the incomparable Jackie Martling. Jackie, how you doing, man? The Joke Man is in the building.
Well, I was doing great until people start calling you icon, because that just translates to the word old. But it is so flattering, and thank you very much. And thanks for doing this. Everybody seems to be pretty excited about this documentary, and it's weird promoting me, but what are you going to do? This is the life we have chosen, but thank you very much.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the documentary. I mean, I watched the trailer about it. There's so many people in there telling awesome stories. I mean, you have so many interesting friendships with fellow Texan Willie Nelson. How do you and Willie Nelson get together?
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Each story, not only these people eclectic and an amazing gang between, Marc Cuban and Les Paul and Penn Jillette, and Artie Lang and all these guys. But the way I came about each of them is its own book. I was in a recording studio working back in the 70s, and a band named Zebra recorded their whole album there. They did a lockdown, so for 2 weeks we were in the same foxhole. And 25 years later, the bass player called me up and said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "We spent 2 weeks in a foxhole. Of course I remember you." He said, "Well, my girlfriend massages Woody Harrelson and Willie Nelson, and he's at the Beacon tonight, and why don't we meet for a beer, and then we'll go and be Willie's guests." And so we did that, and I wound up in the bus, and I've been in Willie's bus 6 or 7 times, smoking pot until it turns out Willie is a bigger joke fiend than I am. So we exchange jokes every couple of weeks on email. It's just been, he's not a bosom buddy, but he's certainly a good friend when we bump into each other, And he's just a great, he is what you see. He's the exactly guy that you see. He's just amazing character,
Oh, Willie Nelson's one of the greatest of all time in every regard. And it was just awesome to see him in the documentary and y'all exchanging jokes, as it were. But for people like who may not know, but this is categorized as a documentary about America's last great joke teller. Why categorize it as a joke teller as opposed to a comedian? And is there a difference?
I don't know, but that's what I always say, that I'm a joke teller. As opposed to a comedian, because, a comedian goes up and talks about his life or his observations on this, that, and the other thing. And I tell jokes. In the rules of comedy, there's 2 things you don't do, and that's tell jokes and laugh at yourself. And that's all I do is tell jokes and laugh at myself, which I've done forever. It's just the way I came up, and it just is an inbred, well, maybe not inbred, but it's an innate thing in me. But I've just always done it. And when I gave up on music, I started telling my dirty jokes on stage, and I never looked back. Some people are like, well, you're not really a comedian. You didn't write that stuff. And I always say, hey, when you go to see Hamlet, you don't stand up in the middle of the show and yell at the actors, you didn't write this. It's a performance. You know, if I'm up there and I make you laugh for an hour, everybody wins, you know, and that's all I've ever tried to do, you know, since I was, 5 years old or 10 years old, you know?
It is incredible to have the ability to have all these jokes, though, because I think this is probably the biggest skill, is not only to memorize the jokes, but to have them at your ready for any moment's notice. I mean, I saw the clip in the documentary where you're furiously writing jokes and then handing them to Howard Stern live on the air. Kind of, if you can give me a little bit of that process, like, will you just listen to the subject matter and just think of the first joke that came to mind? How would you and Howard work together in that regard?
They weren't jokes. Those weren't jokes. What it was is, the way I explain it is, if Howard Stern and Rob and Quivers and me were sitting at a table having a conversation, I'm a funny guy, and every once in a while, of course, I think of something very funny to say, only instead of saying it, I write it down and put it in front of Howard. And sometimes it's just one word or just a phrase. It's never an actual joke. It's just those quick witticisms that just fly when you're having a great conversation with your friends. And the combination of his sense of humor and mine and Fred Norris, the other writer, just made Howard stand tall. You know, and it's just something that I just started passing notes when I first got on the show in 1983. And by 1986, I became a full-time member, and those jokes were flying for the next 15 years. Rapid fire, on the air in real time. And Howard's such a genius that he could just look at a note and he could just put it right in the middle of his conversation. And, I'm very funny and very fast, but without his ability to work them in, it couldn't have worked. It was an incredible team, just an incredible team.
The documentary Joke Man will be available tomorrow on iTunes, Apple TV, Amazon Plus, all major streaming platforms. Again, when it's characterized as that time that you just talked about, the 18 years, I mean, they literally did call you the Beatles of radio, the greatest collection of radio talent in history. To this day, it stands the same. No one's ever topped that group, that foursome of you all on the air. How does that make you feel to be called the Beatles of radio?
Well, what's really funny is I coined that, and when I first started calling us the Beatles of radio, everybody made fun of me, especially Howard, because Howard doesn't see it as the Beatles. He sees it as it's more like Wings. He's McCartney, and everybody else is kind of flying alongside. But we were the Beatles, absolutely. And then as time went by, it stuck and stuck and stuck, and now it's the absolute name that everybody uses. And the more time passes, the more it fits. It just, those were golden years, and the more time passes, the more golden they become. And I just am thrilled by that. I don't know whether I'm George or Ringo, but it doesn't matter. I don't care if I'm, the people yell that I'm Pete Best, of course, but I don't care if I'm, Billy, Billy Preston. Just being part of that thing was just so wild, and continues to be wild because it's as alive today as it was 30 years ago,
It absolutely is. I can't wait to watch Joke Man. I mean, last question for you. Have you seen the documentary in its full? I'm sure that you have. And how was it having to watch the documentary about your life?
Well, we had a family and friends screening, and, half the people that are in the movie were at the screening. And I don't know if you've ever been in a movie, but any movie you're in, when you come out on stage, when you come on the screen, it's just very weird. And it's very weird every time, like if you see yourself on TV or anything. So to have a whole movie be about you, but you try and separate it and just enjoy it. And it's just a fun ride. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was absolutely thrilled to watch it. But the thrilling thing was to watch other people watch it and have them really enjoy it. That's what's really great,
Well, I enjoyed watching the trailer, so I know I'm going to love watching the documentary, and so is everybody else listening right now. It's called Joke Man, available on iTunes, Apple TV, Amazon, all tomorrow. Make sure everyone checks out the documentary. Jackie, thanks so much, man, for taking time this morning.
Listen, Brad, the best way to access it is jokemanmovie.com. If you go there, there's all the connections that you need. jokemanmovie.com. It's kind of, it writes itself, and I appreciate you, and I'd love to hear from you, your reaction to it once you've seen it.
I will definitely give you my reaction. I will write it, or I will write to you, and I can't wait. JokeManMovie.com. Jackie, thanks so much, man, for taking the time.
Really appreciate it, Brad. Bye-bye.
Hurry up, tape running out.